I was really looking forward to bring her back mainly because of the Philippou Brothers. If you don't know, these guys were Raka Raka on YouTube, and they made a pretty big horror film recently called Talk to Me, which I really liked a lot. I think horror, more than pretty much every other genre, has had a lot more hits over the last 10 years, and yet Talk to Me still found a way to stand out amongst the great group of horror movies. Kids getting high off of a hand that makes you possessed by a demon is a pretty fresh take on the exorcism kind of subgenre, and it's something that'll stick with you for a long time. I put it in my top 10 movies of 2023, and I would still probably keep it on that list. I thought it was a really good horror movie. And now they have Bring Her Back, their follow-up, which is, I would argue, a lot darker. This is probably the darkest horror movie that will come out all year. And to keep the story in its most basic non-spoiler form, we follow a brother and sister who are somewhat forced into moving in with their new foster mother. And you know something is off the entire time, but I think the film does a really good job of revealing the story to you as it plays out. It holds its cards close to its chest a lot of the time, and it does so in a way where a lot of our filmmakers would make that part of the movie either boring or feel super slow. I was just super tense the entire time this movie was playing, and I think the thing that makes Bring Her Back so much more impactful than a lot of other horror movies that I've seen recently is just the brutality that they put on screen. A lot of the practical effects in Talk to Me were very impressive. I still think about somebody's face to this day, and I think the effects are just as impressive here. And like I said, that brutal nature of horror is on full display the entire time. And you would think brutal would mean that this movie is super gory, and there is like some blood every once in a while, but even more than that, it's just somebody that is sleeping and gets punched in the face. They just know how to blend effects when you need effects and sound effects when there isn't really a big practical effect happening on screen. They're just so good at making that kind of uncomfortable horror. And even though Talk to Me isn't the most optimistic movie in the world, I still think there are a lot of fun parts in that movie. And I don't think I would put Bring Her Back in the fun category of movie. I would never throw this on at a Halloween party. People have compared this a lot to Hereditary, and I don't think I would exactly compare them in terms of the filmmaking styles, but I do think in terms of that pit in your stomach feeling that you get when watching Hereditary, I think you do get some of those vibes in here. I just respect movies that don't mind taking a swing on certain things, and Bring Her Back definitely takes a lot of swings. I saw some reviews on Letterboxd saying this movie didn't go far enough with its brutality, and I think every single one of those people should probably get on an FBI watch list immediately. One thing that really impressed me in both Talk to Me and Bring Her Back are the performances that the Philippous are able to get out of their actors, specifically the teenagers. The two young leads in this could have been really easy to make annoying, but their dialogue is well written and the delivery of most of their lines feels authentic. Sora Wong is really good at delivering the emotional side of things, while Billy Barrett is really good at playing the skeptical teenager who knows something is going wrong. I didn't even know Sally Hawkins was in this movie until they showed up, and I was like, holy shit, is that Sally Hawkins? And thank God they collaborated together, because she is phenomenal in this movie. I'm not gonna put her on the Toni Collette level where everyone in the world was like, this is a travesty that she wasn't nominated at the Oscars, but if I were the only one in charge of nominations at next year's Academy Awards, I'd put her in there based off of the movies I have seen up to this point in the year so far, because right now I think she probably gives the best performance of 2025. Maybe diehard Sally Hawkins fans know of another villainous role that I don't, that she has played before, but this is my first time seeing her take on a character like this, and she nailed every single point of the material. I love actors that make me buy in so much to the film that I have no clue what they're gonna end up doing next, but I got to that moment here in a lot of points with a lot of the characters, and just seeing them be able to pick up an actress of her caliber gets me more excited to see who else the Philippous end up collaborating with in the future. And to go back to that point of these brothers being able to get the most out of their young actors, Jonah Wren Phillips might not have the most to do in terms of dialogue, but just the acting he pulls off with his chilling face alone just gave me goosebumps the entire time. And the kid is 12 years old. But besides the performances, I think they do a great job in terms of directing this entire movie. There are multiple shots that I have burned into my mind, or certain ways they reveal something horrifying without making it a stupid jump scare. And they just do a really good job of building a world in which you are really stressed out about what could possibly happen to the characters. I really love that point George R.R. Martin made a couple years ago, where what inspired his writing style and storytelling style of Game of Thrones was that he was so tired of reading the same book over and over again again, where the hero is surrounded by 100 soldiers and you know he's going to make it out alive because he is the hero. And whether the protagonists in this movie end up living or dying, that doesn't really matter to my point, because the point I'm making is I felt that level of stress when I'm watching something like Game of Thrones, where I know there are stakes on the line, because the brothers do such a good job of building out that world where you feel stressed out for these characters and you know something bad can probably happen in this universe. And that feeling kind of gets rarer and rarer to see in any sort of media nowadays, and I think the Philippou brothers are really good at delivering on that. I also love the look of this movie, even though it looks depressing as shit. It's like if the song Bad Day had a visual horror movie look to it. It's just like you feel so bad while you're watching it. You're just looking at every frame and you're like, God, life sucks. And I don't love feeling that at all, but I do think for the type of horror movie this is, it paints you in that type of mood. It's not the type of feeling I want to get from every single movie, but the way they did it here, I really appreciated. And if we are comparing Talk to Me to Bring Her Back, I really like how distinct they feel from each other. I feel like a lot of times when directors do their sophomore film, it feels like you're just watching another version of the previous movie that they made. And even though these are both kind of in that demonic sort of subgenre, they feel so different from each other. And I like how when I compare them, it's really hard for me to pick which one I like more. It's kind of like when Midsommar came out after Hereditary. I mean, those two movies are more different than these two movies, but you know what I mean. It's kind of could go either way for a lot of people. In terms of which one I'd rather rewatch, it's definitely Talk to Me. There's no question about that, because again, there are at least some fun moments in that movie, and I was not having fun in Bring Her Back. But I think in terms of all those technicalities and actual filmmaking, I do think the Philippou brothers really stepped up their game here, and that really makes me excited for Talk to Me 2. It's one of the few sequels where I'm actually very curious to see how they handle it, and maybe I'd be a bit more skeptical if they hadn't made Bring Her Back, but just seeing how they level up a lot of their stuff here really gets me interested into seeing what they do with that. And at the end of the day, I think you have to put these guys up there as some of the most exciting horror filmmakers we have right now. I think besides Ari Aster and probably Robert Eggers, these guys might be in that number 3 spot for me personally of horror films that are made by people that I want to see the most. It's always hard knowing who my favorite filmmakers in a genre are, especially after you've only made 2 movies. I really don't like putting people on that pedestal that early in their career. But these 2 movies are pretty damn impressive. And if they keep it up, if they keep leveling up slowly but surely over the next 10, 15, 20 years and keep making banger horror movies, they're going to be the indisputable best twins in horror filmmaking history. So I would highly recommend this movie if you get the chance to. If you're not into super dark horror movies, might not be for you. I wouldn't recommend this to anyone in my family. But if this seems like it's up your alley, I have a strong feeling most people are going to end up enjoying it. So this is Chase. Thank you so much for watching as always. And if you want to see if this is going to end up making my top 10 movies of 2025 list, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss that video coming out in December.